Hi everyone, good afternoon. We warmly welcome you to the catch-up at Global Cultural Jamboree again. And as usual, we have another 4 special invitees here with us today representing the Bookbridge Foundation. Firstly, before moving on to our guests, I want to know from our scouts about what you all know about the Bookbridge Foundation. So scouts, go ahead and log into slide.com or scan the QR code, and once you log in, type hashtag GCJ and type your answers in the Slido word cloud. Also, I invite you all to drop down your questions in the YouTube chat box so that at the end, we'll be able to answer some of your questions. So, with that happening, let's move on to our speakers for today. Oh no, let's see what our scouts think about the Bookbridge Foundation and what they know about the Bookbridge Foundation. So scouts, go ahead and log on to slido.com or scan the QR code and tell us what you think about the Bookbridge Foundation and what you know. Oh, volunteering, nice. What else? Go ahead. Helping, good. What else? Social services, scouting. Okay, with that happening, let's move on to our speakers for today. So to introduce our first invitee, I cordially invite Deputy Chief Commissioner, Jamboree Advisor, and member of the World Scout Committee and Director of the Bookbridge Foundation, Mr. Janaprit Fernando.
Ayubowan, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from Colombo, Sri Lanka. It gives me great pleasure this evening to join this live chat at GCJ in the capacity of a scout and also as part and parcel of Bookbridge International Foundation and Bookbridge Sri Lanka. I will not talk about Bookbridge Sri Lanka because we have none other than the president of the Bookbridge Foundation himself joining us, and also the country manager of Bookbridge, Sujita Miranda, also joining us. Therefore, I will not talk about Bookbridge, but we'll talk about the person, the strength behind introducing Bookbridge to the Asia Pacific region and also to Sri Lanka. He's none other than Mr. Abdullah Rashid. Mr. Ashar Rashid was for 13 years the regional director of the Asia Pacific Regional Scout Office. And during that time, I knew him to be a person who was very interested in doing things, doing work, doing community work for the Asia Pacific region NSOs. And under his initiative, one of the very important projects in World Scouting started, known as Ticket to Life, where street children were able to do scouting and fully funded by donors found by Mr. Rashid himself. And today, I believe, my personal belief is that Ticket to Life was the foundation or was the initiative which has today become into a big project which is known as Messengers of Peace. And today, the whole world of scouts talk about Messengers of Peace. The Asia Pacific region talks about Ticket to Life, and the architect behind this is none other than Mr. Rashid. Mr. Rashid is from Maldives and has been associated with Bookbridge Foundation since 2009. He was then at the Asia Pacific Regional Office for WUSM, and at the beginning, Bookbridge Foundation, which was based in Germany, was very much scout-oriented, and that is how he became connected to it. After 5 years of his involvement in Bookbridge, he became the Bookbridge Foundation board president. This year is his 3rd year as the president of this foundation, and he continues to be associated with it. This is his 12th year of being connected to Bookbridge, which has now spread from its simple start in Mongolia in 2009 to Inter-America, Europe, Arab, Africa as well. In fact, when Imara wanted to introduce Mr. Rashid, I said, no, I want to do that because I'm personally indebted to Mr. Rashid since he's the person who introduced me to the world and regional level of scouting. In 2009, as District Commissioner of Colombo, he had the fullest confidence in recommending me to then Regional Scout Committee as a chairman of one of the most important subcommittees of the region, which is the Management Subcommittee. And that has been the beginning of my international scout career, Mr. Rashid. And I'm ever so grateful to you. I know it's not only me, but there are several hundreds of thousands of people, of scouts and scout leaders in the region and in some parts of other regions as well, whom you have motivated, whom you have molded, and who are contributing greatly towards their communities and to scouting. Thank you, Mr. Rashid, for joining us this afternoon. And I have the greatest pleasure in inviting you to make a presentation about Bookbridge Foundation and the work we do as a team. Over to Mr. Rashid. I believe Imara may have questions, Mr. Rashid, and we'll let Imara open the.
Yes. So before that, I'll go on to introduce Mrs. Sujita Miranda, who is the country manager for Sri Lanka, for Bookbridge Global Managing Director of Bookbridge Sri Lanka. She's also an education journalist for Sri Lanka's leading newspaper, Sunday Times, and a lecturer for business management entrepreneurship. Mrs. Sujita joined Bookbridge as a social entrepreneur to initiate the first social enterprise for Bookbridge Sri Lanka. Later, she took over country managership in 2018. So, good afternoon to all of you, and I warmly welcome all of you to the Catch Up at the Global Culture Jamboree. I also remind our scouts again to drop down your questions in our YouTube chat box. So at the end, we'll be able to answer some of your questions. So my first question goes to the president of the Bookbridge Foundation, Mr. Abdullah Rashid. So what is the Bookbridge Foundation about and what does it actually do?
Thank you and good afternoon or good morning or good night to all the participants of this Global Cultural Jamboree. Welcome to all of you to the Jamboree and to this session. This is ideally a very unique event and to keep scouting alive during this pandemic. And I know, and I have my hearty congratulations to Sri Lanka Scout Association, who has been very much active in virtual events since the pandemic began. So I have noticed many of the virtual events, and perhaps this is the epic of these events with a huge participation from all over the world for this global cultural jamboree. I also appreciate very much the opportunity given to Bookbridge, which is operating in Sri Lanka for the 6th year, and my hearty congratulations to the Sri Lankan colleagues who are running it. So I personally thank Janaprit, who has been right from the very beginning with us in Sri Lanka in terms of Bookbridge, and I also personally thank Janaprit for giving me this opportunity, for giving Bookbridge this opportunity to be part of this global jamboree. As you might have noticed, Bookbridge, and also as mentioned by Janaprit, is a very much scout-oriented program, or in fact, it's a scout story. It all began by a scout who wanted to do some service to a remote island, to a remote country. And that was one of our Rover Scouts from Germany who wanted to help a small remote village in Mongolia. So far back in 2005, he, along with his 4 other rovers, wanted to travel to a remote country, and they traveled to Mongolia. While on the trip, they found the dire need of the communities, local communities in the faraway districts of Mongolia, where there's hardly not even a book to read. In some of those schools or some of those institutions where there's hardly any single book itself. So as the name suggests, It all began with a simple story, with a simple trip to Mongolia in 2005, and to give books, reading books to these schools in Mongolia. And that's how the name came, Bookbridge, which means ideally bridging the gap between those who have and those who don't have, by means of supply books and making them available to those young people. So it's a very much service-oriented project which began, as I said, since 2005, and it's a Scout project, it's a Scout story. So with that, let me try to share my screen, and I hope I can do that. Can you see my screen? Is it possible to see?
Not yet.
Not yet.
1 second then.
I think I cannot probably, right?
Yes, Rashid.
Can I? I think it's not sharing, right?
You can start sharing.
Is it coming up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So as the name implies, I said it's linking or bridging between those who have and those who don't have, between countries who can afford and who cannot afford. So in a very short nutshell, I'll try to go through how it started and what we do and what we aim. And you will notice that here and there, that there's much relevance to scouting and how it's related to scouting. Actually, this is a very young gentleman whom I referred at the beginning, the Rover Scout, who went to Mongolia in 2005. So from a simple idea of a service project, this all began, and today it is an organization throughout the world serving hundreds and thousands of young people as well as leaders, building capacity in many parts of the world. So as Scouts, as service project, this is how one simple idea moves on to the rest of the world. His name is Dr. Kirsten. He's from Germany, and he, along with his 5 rovers, went to Mongolia. So later he continued his studies and he completed his doctoral in social entrepreneurship. So it all began, as seen in the calendar, of a simple trip in 2005, but I will show you a few highlights. But after 2005, it took only about 1 or 2 years before the books could be transported from UK and from parts of Europe, initially from Europe to Mongolia. So in 2008, you find the first learning center, or the library in those days as it was called, opened in 2008 in Mongolia, in a far remote district, which is far away from the capital. And in the following year, 2009, you find the foundation, the Bookbridge Foundation, being launched. And subsequently, in 2011, it moved onto Cambodia, and in 2015, it was opened its doors in Sri Lanka. Now, this is the very first book collection in Europe. And today, these book collections runs over to thousands and thousands. And every year, the UK Scouts throughout the United Kingdom, they collect books throughout the year. And every year in July, they bring these books to one central location. And all the 20,000 to up to 30,000 books are categorized and sorted out according to age, by subject, and by other interests. And these books are shipped to the countries in Asia. And today, these UK Scouts continue to do the same every year since 2008. And just this July, they have completed the exercise for 2021, and they have just sorted out 20,000 odd books to be shipped to Mongolia, Cambodia, and Sri Lanka. So this goes on, but at the same time, with that Bookbridge, with the library, simple library, the program has expanded to the different countries, and also it has moved from the simple library to big social enterprises at different countries of varying nature. In the initial setup, it was only teaching of English. That's why the books were so important. And at the same time, English and IT became the key subjects being taken up in those learning centers. Now, these are some of our colleagues who are at the Germany Center, as well as in Mongolia and Sri Lanka. I think you will see Sujita there. And Dr. Kirsten, who really is the founder of this organization, has gone on a 2-year leave. So at the moment, he's still traveling around on his leave. Other colleagues are currently in Germany office and in Cambodia and Mongolia. We also have a simple board, and you will also see Mr. Janapri, who is also the president of the Sri Lanka Bookbridge board, and he sits in the foundation board as well. With me, we have 3 other colleagues from Switzerland, Germany, and 2 from Germany and 1 from Zurich. So what we do, this is what we are aiming. We are aiming to see what the young people do, what they really are. That's the theme that we have adopted, and that shows what we aim in bringing about, or finding the inner talent of the young people. See what you are at your heart and not what you see from outside. So in that, we have a number of career building courses, a number of other related skill development programs, and we have these programs targeting themselves and through them to the society. So while we operate in 3 countries with a country setup, we have over many other countries where we have affiliated programs, and that goes to few other countries in other parts, including Germany, and also South Africa, Tanzania, Guatemala, India, Jordan, and as well as Malaysia. And we also have a big network of people. As I mentioned earlier, we have those Scout colleagues from the United Kingdom all throughout UK who are collecting books. We also have at the same time a program, the main program we call Capability Program, which is run now virtually, but before as a face-to-face program, which is run by Bookbridge with the support and collaboration of the universities in Europe. There are a couple of universities where we are affiliated with, and Bookbridge runs what we call the Capability Program for young leaders who are doing their Master of Business Administration or MBA program. As part of the MBA program, Bookbridge gives a hands-on practical assignment of business, planning, executing, implementing, and visiting the centers in these countries, in Mongolia, Sri Lanka, and other countries. So these capability program participants, we have over hundreds of them now, and those alumni, after they complete the program, they still get attached to the program, and they continue to work with us. We have also donors, investors who are investing in us, who are supporting the establishment of these centers in Mongolia, Cambodia, Sri Lanka. The rest of the countries are more social enterprises directly doing their own business pertaining to the needs of the local community. In some of those countries, it is beekeeping, and some countries, it is water purification, and in some, it's housing, like in Gautamala. This is one of the annual events where all the partners, colleagues, everybody joined together, and here this was 2 years back. This is the center I mentioned in Mongolia, which was the very first center which was opened in 2008, but with the opening of the foundation in 2009, we celebrated the 10th anniversary in the very same locality, but definitely not in the same building, because by then, in the 10 years, they have moved to a bigger building, to a bigger space, and by 2019, when we celebrated the 10th year, they have reached over 2,500 young people, and also they have become really sustainable as an enterprise. This is also another example of a local business where we have in Tanzania, where water purification has been the target to service the community. So through our capability program, which I mentioned, some of the alumni, when they return to their country, they start their own social business, social entrepreneurship, based on the concepts and the practical knowledge they get through these Bookbridge learning centers, visit in either Sri Lanka, Cambodia, or Mongolia. This is another one, similarly, another social enterprise in South Africa, where they started having beekeepers and they themselves running their business. Here too, it's a very profitable one, and then they are all sustainable. So these are some of the side businesses that have started, apart from the formal learning centers where English and IT is taught. These social businesses across the world are now becoming more and more outside the classroom business. This is what of similar classroom you see in Mongolia, very young, energetic students, and most of them are scouts as well. So we have these regular classes targeting to their own skill development and for their career development. This is also the same in Mongolia. And you see the lady holding the guitar. She is the country manager for Mongolia. And you see, as I mentioned earlier, they are very much scout students, and they work as scouts as well, and they are involved in Mongolia scouting activities as well. This is one of their very young, talented, who had been doing marvelously well coming out of the Bookbridge in Mongolia. And this is in Cambodia. You see the gentleman in black shirt. He is the country manager for, and that is our simple learning center in Cambodia, where you see those books which I mentioned earlier, sorted out in UK and Europe, being shipped to these countries, and they are all sorted out. And this is the very beginning, where English and IT is taught. You see the children are engaged in activity-based learning. This is also in Cambodia, where we have a similar center. And then this is also in Cambodia. So with that, that's the overall picture, and I will hand over to Sujita to cover the Sri Lanka part, and thereafter I think perhaps we could go into any further questions collectively we can combine both. Thank you. Over to Sujita.
So, Mrs. Sujita, over to you. Before that, we'll be coming back to our scouts again. So, scouts, I'll be asking you a question. So, do you like to be a volunteer at the Bookbridge Center? Yes or no? So you can again type slido.com or scan our QR code and then type hashtag GCJ and then select yes or no in our Slido poll. So let's see who likes to be a volunteer at the Bookbridge Center. Right now we have 90 responses. All 90 of them likes to be volunteers at the Bookbridge Center. Nice. So, Mrs. Sujita, as scouts, how can we join or volunteer at the Bookbridge Center? So, as you see that there are many scouts who would like to volunteer at the Bookbridge Centers.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to present about the Bookbridge Sri Lanka social enterprises in Sri Lanka. So there are many social enterprises in Sri Lanka. I will show one by one. Those are in different locations in Sri Lanka. We don't have centers in leading cities like Colombo or Kandy. It is always in the cities where they have less opportunities. So the scouts who are around Sri Lanka and also who are around the world who would like to contribute to do work with these centers, they can definitely contact either me or the center heads, or we call them community heroes, to join these programs. So I'll continue with what we have in Sri Lanka to join. So first of all, everything started with Mr. Rashid's initiative. So he is the person who advised Carsten to choose Sri Lanka as the next country to Bookbridge to come in. So this was in 2015. So Carsten, Monica, and Rashid, they came to Sri Lanka. They went all around Sri Lanka with Mr. Janaprit and officials of Scouts to see which will be the next place for Bookbridge to start the social enterprise. So that this is the moment they signed the MOU with Sri Lanka Scouts Association. So they are the first partner to Bookbridge to join, to bring all these social enterprises idea and all the support from Bookbridge to Sri Lanka. So the Scout movement is the first partner for Bookbridge to come into Sri Lanka. So these are some moments with the former Commissioner of Scouts, and Ms. Rashid is here, and Dr. Carsten, and the former Country Development Manager who came here, visited, and chose the place. So the Bandaravela Learning Center is the first learning center came into Sri Lanka as a social enterprise. So I was chosen as the community hero, or the social, we call the social entrepreneur, to start the learning center. So here the learning center is more like Bookbridge never advise any social entrepreneur to start what the center should be. It is the social entrepreneur with a group of European. They do a social community research to find out what is lacking in this place, what is needed to support the community. So that here we did a community research and found that there are many young adults who cannot go to university even though they have good results, and they are left in the city, but they cannot go for good jobs because lacking of professional qualifications and the knowledges, and they have to develop their personalities. So what we did was we created a course called Find Yourself. This is a course we developed the young people after school, 16 plus young adults, to come to this center and develop their personality, soft skills, English, and even how to face an interview. Everything will be trained here. Apart from that, we did all the most needed courses in this center. So this is how this center developed. Then we slowly moved to Kakirawa in so the Bandaravela Center was started in 2016. Kakirawa was 2017. In 2017, Kakirawa was started as a center for even school students who would like to learn English in a different method. So it is like more project-based learning, action learning programs in the center. So this Kakirawa is more like a English center for the region. Then in 2017, we started a Batiklo Learning Center. This is something very special in Batiklo. Batiklo Center does more science projects. So there are many social innovators who would like to introduce something new to the country. They train in this center. So Batiklo Center is more to the entrepreneurship and scientific research centers. And we have Palwata and Monragala. This is also more solving the problem of the youth. We will be starting a center in Nuwara on this 21st in few days. So this is a center where we will be training young adults on agriculture. And also we are allowing people to come and work here as we are offering some co-working space where people would like to come and work in a place where they get internet connection, they get laptops to work, they can come here, sit and do their work. So these are different centers. Every center has their own concept. We don't ask the center to do this. You have to do this course. We never say. So as a country manager, I took over country managership in 2018. From that onwards, my work is to support the social enterprises, what they are doing, not that we tell them what to do. So they tell what they need and I support what they have to do. That's how the centers go. So if you see, there'll be always special guests in our centers. They visit and do some special programs. So this is in 2017 when Mr. Janaprit Sri Lanka, he pays frequent visits to our centers. And this is a moment when he was working with the scouts on a small activity. Then we have some volunteers who come to our social enterprises and spend their time and knowledge with the students. So here this person is called Mr. Benjamin, who is working for a leading organization in Switzerland. So he conducted an interview session, how to face an interview. So these are some sessions, the young adults got so much of benefits from them. And then we have also support the community youth with various programs like photography training and career building training. So this is in Batiklo Center, youth getting training for the photography. And also in Batiklo Center, this is a project they are conducting for young youth and also for kids. They do robotic activities, and also we call this Maker Education Center. So students in the young ages, they start building their own small projects, and they have some exhibitions to show these talents to the community. And this is the program I was referring, Find Yourself. So at the end of the program, they'll be facing a real lifetime experience on interviews, how to face an interview, and then they'll be going through with all the interview sessions with a panel. So they have that experience before they are facing their real-time job interviews. And we also had scouting programs in Bandaravela Center. So these are the scout troops we had. We couldn't continue with the scouts after 2019 Easter bomb attack, so that after that they couldn't continue. So these are from very rural schools where they don't have scouting activities in the schools. So they come to our center, and these are the they started their scouting activities, but unfortunately they couldn't continue. We are hoping here, if you all can support as scouts, to train some scouts who have no opportunities in their schools to do their scouting. We have our centers, so they can support the youth to become scouts. These achievers are doing some scientific researchers with a NASA research center. These are from our Batiklo Learning Center. So these research center. And these are some of the students after their education in our community centers or social enterprises. They have got some good jobs at various places. So they are working as administrative officers, front office managers, and at various places. Whenever they need support, they always come back to us and ask for any support. We'll be giving them many support through our social enterprises. And this is one of the other achiever who's in the CDB as one of the leading character in the CDB Badulla branch. And we have a success story here. When in Bandaravela, when we were conducting an entrepreneurship program, so one gentleman and two ladies came to train this group of people who are small businesses who would like to develop their business. So from this, we could train many entrepreneurs from this onwards. And what we did was, in Bandaravela Center, we opened up a place for the entrepreneurs to sell their products. So they get trained, they start doing something, and they can sell their products. So the major problem in Sri Lanka is when there's entrepreneurs, they don't get the opportunity to sell. They don't have they do many things, they produce many things, but they don't have places to sell in areas like Bandaravela, Kakirawa. So we open places for them. And also, this is another success story where the social enterprises created a cafe for the young adults to work as part-time workers to earn some money for their education. So what they do here, they do part-time job in this cafe, and what they earn, they use to do their professional courses in our community centers. So these are some success stories we have. So what we do in Bookbridge Sri Lanka is not only we do educational programs, we try to support all the young people in the region to grow. So if, as scouts, if you like to support the youth in these regions, and in future maybe in different regions, if you think that you can do and support something for this youth, you can always join. So do what you really are. This is what we always say. So you do what you really are and support your youth in Sri Lanka. So thank you for the opportunity. Over to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sujita. A quick question. So in that Batiklo Learning Center, I saw that the SDG goals were displayed. So do you all promote the SDG goals to the Bookbridge centers?
Yeah, in Batiklo Center, they have different connections with various organizations. So if anybody have the interest, you can contact Batiklo Center, and you can, if somebody wants to get these trainings, you can contact us to get these trainings. And they are also doing the Hackaday trainings also. And all these Duke of Edinburgh trainings also they are giving in Batiklo Center.
So So is there a way that as scouts, where we can volunteer at the Bookbridge centers?
Yes, sure. So you can contact any of the centers or contact me, and you can offer what would you like to do, so that you are always welcome. We would like to work with scouts, and all the activities with scouts are welcome.
Thank you. So my next question goes to
if I may add to that, Imara, we hope to start scout groups, open scout groups in all Bookbridge centers in Sri Lanka. As you know, our new concept under the new Chief Commissioner with the present pandemic is that we should base our scouting not only on schools, but on community-based scouting as well. And I think Bookbridge is a good platform, the centers, to start scout groups. And the Nuwara Center, which will be open next week, the two youngsters there are very keen on starting a scout group. So I invite our viewers from Nuwara. If you don't have a scout group to join, please contact the GROW Center in Lady McCallum Drive, and you could join a scout group, open scout group. Thank you, Imara.
Thank you, sir. So my next question goes to Mr. Rashid. So, sir, what is your message to scouts who are joining from all around the world as the president of Bookbridge Foundation?
I couldn't get you the second part. Can you repeat that?
What is your message to scouts who are joining from all around the world as the president of the Bookbridge Foundation?
Yes, as scouts, and in fact, this is an opportunity for you to enhance your own inner talent. Because while as a scout, you develop certain skills of self-reliance and all other skills that you need for a worthy, to survive today. But at the same time, you also need to find out what is your inner talent. And most of the centers, what we aim at is to enhance the young people in their own inner talent to develop that skill. And secondly, if any of the scouts who are leaving school and who want to start a social entrepreneurship, the Bookbridge would be an avenue where you can go through the business cycle, how to start, how to run, how to implement, to be on your own, running a small business. So we have these European colleagues who are in the universities who are supporting the young people who wants to start a business. So the second area is, if any of the scouts, rovers in particular, when you are leaving school and you are not deciding to what to do, probably starting a small business could be an ideal way to move forward. And then to start a small business, you have to have the skill, have to know where to start, how to start, and how to do the business planning. And I think that is mostly what Bookbridge is offering all around in two of these aspects: building inner talent to find out who you are and to develop the skills required for that, and giving an opportunity to develop that particular skill. As Sujita mentioned in Batikalo, any of those who have very creative minds to do some innovative research, you have the opportunity there. And those who want to do some agriculture, now the upcoming Nuwara project center would be able to do that. So there are various opportunities based on the interest of the scouts. So in that way, I think scouts of Sri Lanka and anywhere around the world, you have these two main targets. You can get assistance from Bookbridge.
Thank you, sir. Now it's time for our Q&A session. So let's get down to some of the questions our scouts dropped down in our YouTube chat box. So all three of you are welcome to answer these questions. So the first question is, how did Bookbridge get initiated in Sri Lanka?
As I said before, at the time of introducing Mr. Rashid, as the regional director of Asia Pacific region, was instrumental in getting Carsten, who visited Mongolia and started this Bookbridge, initially trance of books, which led to this lovely INGO now. And Mr. Rashid inquired from us whether we could be the third country. At that time, Mongolia and Cambodia already had Bookbridge, And Mr. Rashid inquired, and the then Chief Commissioner, Professor Nimal De Silva, was very happy about the idea when I mooted it. And we studied the whole process, and we entered into a memorandum of understanding with Bookbridge, and Sri Lanka Scout Association partnered with Bookbridge and commenced the first center in 2016. That's how it started, Imaya.
Thank you, sir. So our next question that our scouts have asked is, how can we get services from Bookbridge?
Can you come again? Sorry.
Yes, how can we get services from Bookbridge?
There are two ways. One is contacting the social enterprises. So there are enterprises in Bandarawela, Kakirawa, Batiklo, Monragala, and also in Nuwara now. So that in these regions, whoever would like to get services, they can directly go to the social enterprises and get their services. At the same time, we as Bookbridge Sri Lanka, we run a program called Startup Camp, which is whoever would like to start a small business in Sri Lanka or wherever. We have a 5-day camp, a residential camp, and then after that we'll be having a learning partnership connecting them with an international expert to build their business plan, and we allow them to pitch their business to a jury internationally and also locally. And this is mostly for the knowledge to gain, but also sometimes in the jury someone may also invest on them. We never promise that we are going to invest on them, but this is for knowledge, but also they get this opportunity. And the third thing also there, annually we choose for another social entrepreneur to start a new business. It is not only learning centers, it can be a social business. So whoever think that I have a great idea which can solve a Sri Lankan social problem and I would like to start a business, you can apply through our Facebook page and get the services from us.
Thank you, Mrs. Sujita. So as the presentation gave a comprehensive insight to Bookbridge, the audience does not have any further questions. So I invite Mr. Janaprit Fernando for the final remarks.
Thank you, Imara, for that opportunity. Once again, on behalf of the organizing team of the Global Cultural Jamboree, I wish to thank Mr. Abdullah Rashid, the president of Bookbridge Foundation, and also the pioneer or the initiator of Bookbridge to Sri Lanka for joining us this afternoon. And also Sujita Miranda, the country manager of Bookbridge and also director of Bookbridge Lanka for joining us. The final message to my dear scouts, very especially from Sri Lanka, is here is an opportunity Bookbridge has given you to get the chance of joining an open scout group. ඔබට තිබෙන අවස්ථාවක් තමයි ඔබගේ පාසලේ අපි දැනගත් පහුගිය වසර එකමාර තුල අපිට පාසල් බාලදක්ෂ කටයුතු වලට සහභාගී වීමට අපහසුකම් තිබුණා මේ වසංගත තත්ත්වය නිසා. ඒ හේතුව කරගෙන අපි විවෘත බාලදක්ෂ කණ්ඩායම් ආරම්භ කිරීමට සියලුම කටයුතු දාගෙන යනවා. එතකොට ඔබට තිබෙන්නේ ඔබ එක්කෝ බණ්ඩාරවෙල, මොනරාගල, පැල්වත්ත, එසේත් නැත්නම් බඩකලපුව, මහනුවර, කැකිරා වෙන ස්ථානවල පදිංචිලා ඉන්නවනම්, යාවට ඉන්නවනම් බාලදක්ෂ සංගමයත් සමග සම්බන්ධ වෙලා එම ස්ථානවල ආරම්භ කරන බාලදක්ෂ සමූහවලට ඔබගේ මිත්‍රයන්, ඔබගේ නෑදෑයන්, ඔබගේ අසල්වැසියන් සම්බන්ධ කිරීම තමයි ඔබට කළ හැක්කේ. ඊට අමතරව රෂීද් මහතා කිව්වා වගේ ඔබ උසස් පෙළ, සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ උසස් පෙළ අවසන් කරලා මොකක්ද කළ යුත්තේ කියන ප්‍රශ්න තිබෙනවා නම් මෙම මධ්‍යස්ථානයකට ගිහිල්ලා ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් සාකච්ඡා කරලා ඔබට පුළුවන් උපදෙස් ලබා ගන්න ඔබගේම ව්‍යාපාරයක් නැත්නම් ඔබගේ වෘත්තියක් කරගෙන යන්න. ඒත් එක්කම ඔබට පරිගණක පහසුකම් නැත්නම් ඔබට පුළුවන් මෙම මධ්‍යස්ථානවල සමාජිකයෙක් වෙලා ඒ පරිගණක පහසුකම් සහ පුස්තකාල පහසුකම් ලබා ගැනීමේ අවස්ථාවක් තිබෙනවා. Another thing I want to leave with all of you, my dear scouts from Sri Lanka, is that if at the present moment for the last 1.5 years, our scouting in schools has been mostly virtual, but our aim is to start open scout groups. Therefore, the 5 centers at present are ready to start scout groups. If you are interested, if your family, friends, neighbors are interested, please introduce them, take them to the BookBridge centers, and we will start scout groups in these centers. In addition to that, you can get the membership at the BookBridge center and use the facilities such as the libraries, the computers, by paying a very nominal fee, because BookBridge is not a profit-oriented organization. It's a social service organization, and that's an opportunity for you if you don't have the facility to do your further studies, or you do not know what profession or what business you want to do, you can visit the BookBridge centers and get the advice. So, my dear friends, BookBridge is another great opportunity Sri Lanka has got. BookBridge is another great opportunity Scouts of Sri Lanka have got. Therefore, I urge you to make maximum use of this service this organization provides you. Thank you, and wish you a very fruitful jamboree for the next few hours.
Thank you, Mr. Janaprit. So, Mr. Rashid, Mrs. Sujita, and Mr. Janaprit, thank you so much for joining with us today. So that brings us to the end of this episode of the Catch Up at the Global Culture Jamboree. So see you again in another few hours with another fruitful session like this. Till then, stay tuned. This is the Catch Up at the Global Cultural Jamboree.